Hi, this is Baldur975 and welcome to Baldur's Gate 3 on the Xbox, and today I'm cleaning up the shadowlands, just generally fighting, getting rid of the general beasties that are out in the land. This is all about harvesting XP, setting things on fire, and generally wandering into the ambushes to initiate the fights, but doing so in a way that works for me. And these encounters are not that difficult. They're not that easy either. They are quite. I mean, you can take a lot of damage from these fights very quickly if you're not sort of set up correctly and you haven't got the right spells and buffs on things. They can be quite nasty, and it's a good idea to sort of work out how to get the most damage out of things, and generally sending Karlach in to smash things was generally my strategy. This axe does more damage on things that are on fire, things like that, little bonuses, extra bits of damage, and I wish the camera would stop wigging out and giving me weird views. But yeah, anything that does extra damage is usually a good way to go with these fights, because these things have a decent amount of hit points. As I've said in other videos, at this level these fights should be fairly routine, but the danger is usually overconfidence. Anything that death bursts and does lots of damage is always difficult anyway. It's not sensible to sort of take these fights for granted, and I keep forgetting to put the Hunter's Mark on things. I can't remember she's got that ability, because it is super useful. But yeah, the fact that things death burst and that, it makes them slightly more challenging and slightly more annoying. I was enjoying using some of Lazelle's abilities to sort of assist with odd arrows and things like that. But I still gotta say, she's not that good an archer. It's one of her weaknesses is that she isn't the best archer out there. However, when she does hit, she gets lightning charges, which boosts up her damage a little bit more, and she's literally built to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that damage-wise. As we've seen in other videos, I am actually going to have to do a build guide at some point. I keep meaning to, but yeah, I'm going to have a look through the builds of my characters, probably after camp one morning, to take you through like the general idea and gist of what I'm up to. Because it is, it's a bit of a weird setup I've got going on. They're not Nipsy especially isn't an OP character build. Mainly it comes from she comes from my regular Wednesday night game, IRL roleplay game, and was designed to be sort of a jack of all trades, because we didn't really have a wizard or a rogue in the party, and so she had to kind of fulfill a lot of slots. Being a bard, it's not the worst idea, but it means that she's not power built for Baldur's Gate 3, which is all about dealing masses of damage. Generally, you find the builds that are really recommended for Baldur's Gate 3 a lot of paladins with smite to really amp up the damage. If you're looking at bard builds, it's usually the paladin sword bard, which is a very popular build in Baldur's Gate 3, because you have plenty of spell slots to then sacrifice off to do absolutely bucket tons of damage with your smites, and you've got some decent support spells of the bardic spells. You can also do Warlock Bard, which is another one, especially now they've brought in Hexblade. Hexblade Bard is very useful because you get the extra spell slots, you get the extra short rest, which is great for refreshing Warlock spells. Those sort of builds are much more damaging. Nipsy is much more of a support build, much less of a combat beast damage build. But with the party the way it is, I've got enough beastie damage with the two girls. Lazelle and Karlach can dish out a lot of damage, Shadowheart's all about the healing and leaves Nipsy spare to be the skill junkie support build that I made her. I've got to say, I absolutely love the voice acting on this Raven, which I'll play you a little bit of now. The rudest Raven in the game. It's great.
Everyone hates you. You're disgusting. Pathetic. Still alive?
Yeah, so after chatting with that Raven and his master, I decided to head back out and look for the other blights, because harvesting them for XP is a good thing. I decided to kick this one off by setting fire to the bushes, just because it initiates combat without me wandering into the ambush. And yeah, these are fights that you should be able to take on, should be able to easily win, but I would always recommend a bit of caution, because, you know, when you're playing on honor mode, you just don't want to be overconfident and get caught out by something silly, or, you know, have to waste revivify scrolls because you messed up. And once you start revivifying in the middle of a fight, you know things have gone badly. So best to avoid doing that. Best to just plan ahead, get your spells up that you want to use early in the day, and then just decide what fights you want to take on and how you want to take them on. It's my advice. Try not to be overconfident with the fights that you get, and make the most of your character's abilities and attacks. The way I've set my party up is Lizelle's the support fighter, all about knocking stuff down and tripping it up, doing extra damage, and Karlach's just a raw damage output machine. Always like to action surge early in a fight, because kind of that's how you make the most of it. I do like I shouldn't have probably done that with the bird, because it puts it in the blast radius, but yeah, it is what it is. Just Shadowheart's all about healing, support, and, you know, raining down some holiness. Nothing too exciting, nothing too difficult for her. Any radiant damage she does just so greatly debuffs the enemy that it's just, yeah, it's kind of OP. The constricted stuff was giving me a bit of a headache, because it does cause attacks to be a disadvantage, stops my characters moving. This meant that Karlach ended up throwing a lot of stuff that I had to go around and pick up later, because she couldn't move to hit things with her hammer. So yeah, it's like, damn, frozen in place. Just basically, yeah, throw some stuff, and I don't know why she missed almost everything. I mean, I know she's at disadvantage, but in immobilized, but really, you know, 56% chance is still better than 50-50, so you'd be expected to hit something. But the good thing is, if you kill the stuff that's constricting, you know, you get rid of the constriction, and yeah, so I was able to bring Karlach out, and then it kind of snowballs from there. My team is set up to help each other gain advantage on stuff, so, you know, and what with Shadowheart's ability to Blade Ward and Bless every time she does Bless is just ridiculous. Yeah, every time she heals, she does Blade Ward and Blessed, which is just so OP. The items used to set that up are pretty easy to get. You can even steal the gloves off Zevlor for the Blade Ward really early, but once you get the Blade Ward and Blessed on the go, it just, yeah, it's great, because I very rarely cast Bless, because I get the Bless effect from healing. So, you know, and the fact that she healing words and is a life cleric and does the amount of healing she does with just a healing word, and does extra healing because of all the items she's got, it kind of negates the desire to cast Bless before a fight that requires concentration on that, when she's got a non-concentration Bless effect that she can trigger multiple times through mass healing word and her own channel divinity. So yeah, it kind of makes her fairly potent, and also I should really figure out a decent concentration spell for her to use in combat, because I don't tend to use many concentration spells with her. So that's potentially something I can look at to improve as we go on, is maybe look at different spells that I can use for her. But yeah, it was a fun fight. Running around afterwards picking up all the weaponry was a pain in the butt. But I'm having fun using lots of different throwing stuff until I get there's plenty of weapons that teleport back to your hand, but because I want to use the hammer, if you use a teleporting weapon and throw it, it makes you drop your hammer. So I'm kind of having fun with lots of random thrown weapons. And there's also fun because there's a lot of them that give you weird advantages and do extra damage against weird things. Like I've got the spear that does extra damage against things with more eyes. I've got the axe that does more damage against people that are on fire. Stuff like that I just find amusing to use. So yeah, it's fun. I like messing around with fun, silly stuff. But yeah, let's break. Try and break Karlak out of the constriction so she can run in and smash this guy's face off. There we go. That's handy. And then you just hit to set this dude on fire, and there you go. Yeah, she is particularly useful and does a decent amount of damage. And yeah, unfortunately when stuff's on the ground you have disadvantage shooting it with a bow, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. But if something's lost its dexterity, it also means it's really it's not going to pass its reflex saving throw. So yeah, there's that disadvantage thing. Keep getting like annoyingly entangled and constricted by these things, but it's pretty much all over now bar the fighting. And after this fight I decided to go down to the riverside and save a grumpy wizard who's annoyed with me. Yes, I'm still carrying the rusted daggers. I'm saving them up for the big fight at the end. But yeah, we find Buckaroo, the grumpy wizard, fighting against some shadows, so I need to rescue him. He's out and about trying to rescue the other tieflings and his brother and sister, so it's kind of part of the storyline. I'm trying to save all the tieflings, but whether I succeed or not, we'll see. But yeah, I'm trying to. These shadows are, I mean, they've got a decent amount of hit points, but they're not that threatening. The big thing with this is keeping him alive, because you know he's the storyline purpose of this. But in terms of how scary they are for me to deal with, they're not that dangerous. You know, I've got plenty of hit points in amongst the party and plenty of things that really just will do them a lot of damage and will mess them up quickly. So yeah, he on the other hand will get smacked really hard. So yeah, make sure to keep him alive is the most important thing in this fight, even though he does grumble at me. And yeah, so I think the good thing about even though they're immune to knockdown, the reason you chuck in the extra dice is because it's extra damage. You basically add a d8 in damage by using any of the effects. So it is worth throwing in the extra dice for the extra damage, even if they are immune to the effect for tripping, because you just do the extra d8 damage on the attack. So it's handy, you know. And what with the fact she refreshes these dice on a short rest, it's not hard to get them back. So yeah, even though you don't get much of a bonus for trying to trip things, it's handy to try and trip things for the extra damage. You know, just throws in extra d8 into the attack roll, which, you know, into the damage roll, which is handy. But yeah, keeping Lorcan alive is the only thing that's important in this fight. And obviously blade warding him and blessing him is kind of handy. Plus he's going to shield himself. But yeah, taking care of these shadow creatures is not the most difficult thing you can do out here. Yeah, Spell Sniper allows me to take the Eldritch Blast, which is One thing a bard's lacking is a good damage cantrip. Anyway, that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Let's get moaned at by a grumpy wizard. That's all. Thanks for watching.
Who gives a damn about your stories? Instead, I found myself cornered by shadow fiends and in need of rescue. From you, of all bloody people.